I'm Tom Clum, and this is Solid Archery Mechanics. I want to point out to you guys that you shouldn't have a preconditioned or pre-existing idea of how deep your anchor should be. You know, we've always been told, draw to the corner of your mouth, draw to your eye tooth. We've really looked at a feature on your face to draw to make it consistent. There was some validity there, but within this system, you got to remember that that draw to load, or the full scapular engagement, is going to determine the depth of your anchor. We can predetermine the height of our anchor, but through back tension, we can't predetermine the depth of your anchor for your ideal and consistent and repeatable holding position. And there's some differences between us that change too. Typically what I see for people with normal arm dimensions, and let me define that a little bit. Everybody has a little bit of difference between the length of their ulnar radius, the lower arm bones, and the humerus upper arm bone. Some people have a long upper arm bone and short lower arm bones, and vice versa. If you looked at the average dimensions from people and they go to load position, that position is somewhere just behind the corner of their mouth in general. Most of you will end up something like this kind of depth. But let's pretend that I have a very short forearm, and this is my normal depth. But let's pretend these bones are an inch shorter. Well, that would drag this. If these bones are shorter, this is going to be back here another inch. And I'm going to have a very, very deep anchor if I've got short forearms compared to the length of my upper arm bone. Vice versa. Let's pretend I have a longer lower arm bones, and this is my natural depth right here. Well, if these bones are longer, that's going to shove this anchor up into here. Really handy for a lot of guys, because normally, unless we're an Olympian, we have a side-of-face anchor. It puts the string outside of our eye, so we don't get a string blur. But if I've got very long lower arm bones, it shoves that anchor forward, and that eye, or that string, can come more in front of our eye, and we can hold a vertical bow with eye to arrow to bullseye alignment. But most of us are going to be side-of-face somewhere, which is going to cause that arrow to pitch to your right as you're looking at me, but my left as a right-handed archer, which is going to require for us to cant the bow and the head together to get our eye over the arrow to the bullseye. So in most side-of-face anchor positions, that's why you see most traditional archers with a bow cant. They're getting the eye over the arrow to the target. So anyways, but the point is, we need to find that spot for you. We need to find that depth for you. And then you need to determine how high you're going to anchor. And it depends on aiming methods, distance shooting. Remember, if we have a low anchor, you know, at whatever depth we get, we're going to have a high pitch angle of the arrow. Super effective for long range targets. If our targets are more moderate range, most of the guys were anchoring on this bone, and you're going to learn it in the other modules. I like below the cheekbone, but if your targets are relatively short and you're in a target venue at 18 meters or 20 yards, sometimes top of cheekbone is really effective, because we're changing the pitch of the arrow. And this is all going to be dealt with again in aiming methods modules, but I thought I'd precursor this a little bit right now. But the main point is it is what it is. When we hit load, that is the depth of our anchor that I want you to work with, because that's what produces an absolutely repeatable position for you. Anything less or more is variable. So draw to load establishes depth of anchor, and it's half of what establishes your draw length, and establishes it the same every time, and that's what we want.